Hey everybody, my name is Splattercat. Welcome back to our LP of Don't Starve. Where we had left off, we had gotten a farm built over here, but we needed a lot more. It was not enough. It was too little, and we really don't want it to be too late. So, on the agenda for today is just general exploration and tree chopping, and just grabbing some of those little essentials that are around that I think you should have set up before winter comes along. So, without further ado, let's get to work getting our hands dirty and grabbing some of this beefalo poo as we run through. It looks like we are surrounded, however. I don't believe that I came up in here into this prairie, but I will say that having two beefalo herds may turn out to be kind of useful in the future. Now, one of the things that you may not know as a new player is that you can go around and relocate things. So you can see here I'm taking my shovel, which I researched at my basic alchemy engine or my research station, and if you right click on various objects, you can unearth them and move them to where you want them. Now bear in mind that there is a cost to moving items around. If you end up having to move things from place to place, you will have to fertilize them. At least in the case of grass, it won't grow until you fertilize it with beefalo poo, rotten food, or anything else that you can find. You can see here that spider is getting a little antsy. I don't really know. He looked like he was coming out to fight, but I think it's because the bunny stepped on his territory. If you didn't know by now, if you step on their little webs, it actually acts just like a real spider. It wakes them up, they will come out to find you, and they will try to start a fight with your amicable person, which, you know, some people like to pick fights with people that are completely unrelated. That's how you get caught in the crossfire, and it is unfortunate. However, spiders, I have no problem just whomping ridiculously. So before the beefalo go into heat and I can't gather up any of these things anymore, I do want to get myself a nice little grass field going, and I also want to get myself a nice little berry field going. Additionally, if I can grab some wood, if I can get myself a nice crop of lumber before we get the hell out of here in this episode, I would consider it to be fairly successful. Because it requires so much wood to make ourselves a farm, and so much manure, though, those are going to be the things that we're going to focus on for the near future. So I think in terms of amounts of manure we may need, I think we could really use around 20 to 25 manure. Now I'm beginning to wonder if this is just a sealed off island. I'm not positive, although that would be kind of nice because then I wouldn't have to expect attacks from different directions once hounds and things of that nature start to come. The way that the hounds start to work, just so you know, so you can log it away in your noodle, is that every 10 days or so you're going to get hit by a hound attack. Now the types of hounds are going to vary based on what type of weather you've been having, and also based on how long you've been alive. So the longer you're alive, the more hounds you're going to get. I don't really know the specific algorithm, but more hounds are going to show up. So it's probably like N plus whatever, you know. So after 100 days, you're very likely to get attacked by a huge horde of hounds, which will be slavering for your death. And that's part of the survival aspect of this game, is learning to deal with things that get worse and worse. Now you are going to have to deal with fire hounds during non-wintry seasons. So if you're during a season like summer or spring, you're going to get attacked by hounds that, oh, what is this? Oh, never mind. I found that in the last episode. That's right. So I have been up here. I completely forgot. So let's grab this beefalo wool now that we've got a little bit of space. We are going to want to use that later, either to make a new beefalo hat, or B, we can use it to stuff a jacket and make ourselves clothing for the winter. And I will talk about winter once it gets here, but I don't want to start panicking about it just yet. I want to keep everything running smoothly. I don't want this to be a panicky type entertainment. I want this to be more of an endeavor of perseverance and just knowing what the hell we're doing. If we can keep everything organized, I think we'll be all right. So let's go down here and let's get something planted first and foremost. We'll take a look at the crops we can make. All right, so we've got enough to make a few more farms. So we'll build ourselves a farm there, and then we will also build another one. Now, there are a number of efficiency secrets that I will talk to you guys about. Not necessarily secrets, but just little tips and hints that I would recommend for people. But those things do exist. There are ways to maximize the efficiency in the way that you're using your food and in the way that you're gathering and supplying yourself to survive. We may try to get beehives up before the end of this first little season. That would be nice, but I'm not gonna put it on the front of the agenda. Getting ourselves set up with beehives is going to give us a huge supply of honey. Honey can be used to purify monster meat and make kebabs out of them, or kebabs depending on where you're from. Different people pronounce it different ways. And it looks like we've got evening upon us, but we are out of twigs. And just for a moment there, I thought I heard a hound, which would be drastically too early at this point in the game, but you never want to let them sneak up on you. So If I fall quiet, it's because I'm listening to the hounds in the distance. I'm listening to the slavering, drooling hordes that may be coming for us, that thirst for our blood. So let's get a few more trees down. Not to switch the tone of the discussion too much, but we are going to want to get twigs. You can relocate those. You can dig up stumps, but they only give you 1 wood. You don't actually relocate the trees that way. We're going to plant ourselves some pine cones in the near future. We're going to stop using these as kindling from here on out because we don't have a forest biome anywhere near us, and I want to avoid making huge runs out to the middle of nowhere to grab logs. I'm also, as we go along, I'm only showing this for now because I'm trying to show newer players how to set a pace. But as we go along, I am going to edit out most of these gathering missions so that you only get the missions in which we're actually going out, exploring, doing things, and taking care of business. Now, I think we may have to spend the night out of doors right now, just based on the fact that we need to gather up a few more things. So let me head this way before the spiders get too hostile. Let's head up to the northeast. Once we get to this forest biome, I think we'll find ourselves in a little bit better of straits for gathering throughout the night. I would also additionally like to get myself some charcoal. There are a number of goals you want to set for yourself before the first winter. Namely, you want to have most of your objects up and running. What I mean by objects is you want to have your crock pot ready to go. You want to have your farms ready to go. You want to have your pigmen ready to go. And actually, I probably should track down pigmen at this point and get them to help me harvest. If you have yourself a pigmen army, you can get them to help you with the overall harvesting tasks that you take part in. And I think we may be... Yeah, I think we may be a little too close to a spider town. So let's find ourselves the way out of here. Get ourselves into a little bit more safe of a situation. Oh, good. There's one right there, too. And I've noticed that the developers have made them wander a bit further out than they used to. They are quite a bit more aggressive. They are a threat. And I'm willing to bet that was because many people had said that the spiders just simply weren't threatening enough. They really didn't have anything to levy against you in terms as an enemy. Now, I am going to eat these stale bits of food before they go bad. And we do have a question of the night to tackle, or a question of the eve. You'll already notice, by the way, I did want to point this out, that when we first started the game up here on our clock, it had 2 slivers for nighttime. Now it has 3, so nighttime is getting longer, so I'm getting the sneaking suspicion we may end up with an early winter in this playthrough. So, the question of the day, the question of the evening for you guys that I have to pass the time while we sit merrily around our crackling fire is, who is your favorite actor? Now, I know some people aren't cinephiles, some people don't like to watch movies, some people don't like that sort of thing, but for me, my favorite actor by far... Well, actually, that's a tough choice, but I think I'm going to go with Stephen Fry as my favorite. He's an individual of tremendous character. He's an individual of tremendous philosophical intellect. I mean, if you've watched anything he's done other than acting, he is an incredibly intelligent human being, as well as being just a philanthropist. He's a great humanist. He's a great guy. He puts out great films. He does great comedy. He never ceases to be entertaining. So, Stephen Fry is who I'm going to go with. Let me know who you think deserves your nomination down in the comments below. And that's how we've passed this day. Let's get ourselves let's see here. We'll get ourselves an axe crafted. There we go. And now we'll go down and finish off a few more trees because we are going to need a better wood supply. And as we're out and about, we need to find some twig plants too. We need to find some of these little saplings. So let's grab our shovel here and we'll unearth that with our right click. We could also use a bit more gold because we are going to want lightning rods. I can't stress this fact enough. Ooh, risky, walking the line. Pulling a bit of a Johnny Cash here. Now, I do want that gold nugget, but I feel like they've left that out as a bit of a treat, as a bit of a temptation for me to get myself killed. And so, let's grab some of this kind of stone that's lying around. We do need more gold because you make lightning rods out of it. And what I was going to say before is that you definitely want to keep yourself on the up and up when it comes to lightning rods. Do not tarry, is what I will say to you. As one player to another, lightning has the tendency to burn down your entire area of inhabitants, and so you want to avoid that happening by just putting lightning rods everywhere. I tend to err on the side of caution, and I put lightning rods all over the place, just like dozens of lightning rods all over. And so if you're having an issue with your place of occupation just burning down frequently, I would say that it may be time to get yourself some lightning rods. I believe they cost 3 gold, and so I'm going to try and get a reasonable supply, maybe 12. I think 12 is probably going to be good for what we're looking for. We don't need too much more stone. I feel like our stone supply is largely going to be sufficient for what we need. I'm going to try and keep my base small in this playthrough because huge bases can actually kind of be cumbersome. I noticed the developers haven't put in what I have suggested, because, you know, I'm a small fry. They've probably never even heard any of my recordings. I don't want to be presumptuous, but I've explained this to my viewers, my lovely viewers, that I've always suggested that we put in some kind of housing, some way to build just ridiculous cities and things of that nature. Maybe multiplayer this, actually. I'd be pretty stoked if this game came out with a multiplayer component. What could be more fun? They could ramp up the challenge. They could add a bunch of little, well, achievements too. I would love achievements, but that's because I am a sucker for the old achievements. I know that some people are not quite seduced by the concept of having little pop-up boxes that go boodink and give you points, but I love that stuff. I don't know why. Maybe it's that inner collector inside of me, that autistic OCD nature, but for whatever reason, I love that kind of stuff. Now, our hunger is getting kind of low, so I'm going to consume some carrots. You'll recall from earlier episodes that our character's special ability is that he can eat stale stuff without getting sick or without getting a penalty. So food for him is food for him. It's always going to be just as good as it always was, which sometimes I wish that was the case. I just had a carton of milk go bad. I hate shelling out for milk. And let's see here. I believe I still have the camera rotated. Do I indeed? Let's see here. Let me make sure that I get it rotated. There we go. So now I think I'm rotated back to where I was. Let's get ourselves a bit more wood. I am going to, actually, let's see if with 18% can I get this thing destroyed. I can. Fantastic. I love when things end on an even number like that, don't you? Nobody likes it when you end up with weird odd numbers. It sucks. It's generally unpleasant. And so the problem we're running into, these new types of trees right here that I've never seen before, these firs, or I don't actually think these are firs. I think firs have pointy little pins. I think these are more along the lines of not maple trees, obviously, but they've got oak, perhaps. Anyways, the problem that we're running into here is that these aren't dropping pine cones, so we want to be very careful with our pine cone supply right now. We don't want to burn it up. We don't want to misuse it. The pine cone supply is going to allow us to relocate trees nearer to our base so that we don't get ourselves into trouble. Another thing that I'm a little concerned about is that I was really worried about finding enough beefaloes, but the addendum to that statement is that we've actually found what I think may be too many, so we may actually have to go through and kill some of them in the future. I don't really know what type of armor we're going to need to get that done. It's probably going to be sturdier stuff. Armor of a sturdier nature. They haven't added iron or copper or anything like that to the game yet. That's something that that's an additional suggestion that I kind of hoped that they would put into the game but haven't. Being able to get better armor would be really nice. Just make it really rare, I think, would be the balance to that equation, because I can already see a lot of people being like, well, wouldn't that unbalance the game if you were immune to damage to that extent? Because the log suit does pretty well already. But what I would like to express is that you got to keep that upward gear grind going, I guess. That quest for more stuff, because it's easy to get comfortable in this game. So let's head back to base now before evening falls, and we'll get the rest of this stuff planted. I don't really know where I want to put this. Relocating the grass was probably kind of pointless. Realistically, in retrospect, hindsight's 2020, or at least, well, I don't know how eyesight is viewed. I know that my eyesight is viewed pretty poorly. If we were to take a test, I would more than likely fail it. I think I'm the only person that's ever gotten an F- on an eye test instead of an actual number. Now, let's find a place to put in our trees. I'm going to put them down here, I think, right next to the ocean, and so we'll get these going. Hopefully we don't have a baseline chance for these to grow into any obnoxious trees that don't supply pine cones, because I am going to use these to breed out pine cones a little bit, and this is just a terrible, terrible, terrible tree farm, but it's the best that we can do with what we have right now. So I was hoping to have at least 15 trees down. We've got 9 at the moment, so I guess that'll do it for the time being. The other thing that I'm going to suggest is that while we've got dusk at hand here, let's start planting some of this grass that we're going to need for the future. Having a nice grass supply can make it a little bit easier to get yourself stocked up on things of this nature. However, since we're so close to so many prairies, it may not be a concern. This may be just a waste of my time, but I did want to showcase it for the newer people in the channel. So once we get a nice grass field going here, ooh, and I like that they fixed the bug where it would drop your oh, did they? No, they didn't. Never mind. I thought they fixed the bug where it would drop your clicker. There we go. And so we've got a nice grass field here. What you'll notice is if you want to fertilize them, you just take your fertilizer, drag it over, click it, and it'll be fertilized and ready to go. This will not grow until I fertilize it for those newer players out there. The trees, on the other hand, will grow all on their lonesome. You don't need to fertilize them. Let's get some crops in place. So we've got 11 seeds here. Let's plant those, and we'll get our little plants going. Now, you can expedite the process by fertilizing your little plants, by showing them some love, giving them a little bit of food. So I am going to do that given how far we are from the nearest food supplies. And now that we're back at our base, let me get a fire started up with some of this extra wood that's sitting here. And let's go to our research machine, and we're going to build ourselves some of the lightning rods that I was talking about. But to do that, we're going to need to refine some stone. So let's refine some stone first and foremost. And there's going to be a couple locations, importantly, that I want to put these lightning rods. We'll grab those, and there they are. The first one is obviously going to go right here next to my farming plot. Now, I don't know what the radius is on these. There's no way to mouse across these and give yourself a big circle radius to figure out where lightning strikes are going to come in, but I'm going to assume that that's going to cover my base because from what I've noticed, it's a pretty wide berth that it gives you. I'm also going to put one down here in between all of my grass plants and all of my trees that are growing, because if those burn down right now, it would be terrible. It would make me miserable. I would cry giant manly tears. My outer beard would shrink inwards into my face in order to make up for the tears that were being shed from my eyes. And actually, it looks like they added a bit of a random nature to the night, so it's only 2 wedges again, but the dusk was longer. So that's an interesting fact that we'll have to be aware of. Let me get myself fueled up for the next day. And we are almost out of food. So they did nerf seeds a while back. Seeds used to be the go-to guy for keeping yourself fed. However, let's go to our structures menu, and we're going to get ourselves some chests made. Now, we are going to have to refine some boards, unfortunately, which is going to use up a big chunk of our wood supply. It's, if you're not using it, though, you're losing it. It's not going to rot on us or anything like that. But I would... not to be punny about it, I would like to get myself some chests built. So let's build ourselves one more board so that we can have 3 chests. And that night went by pleasantly quickly. And let's get these chests in place. So we'll put one here. We'll put one over here. And we'll put a final 3rd one on the left here, unsurprisingly, because I don't want to carry around as much stuff as I have right now. So let's get ourselves organized. Stone goes in the box. There we go. We'll throw our excess gold in there as well, along with our nitra. And then we will throw our building blocks in there and some of that extra flint that we aren't going to be using. So that's going to be our box O stone. This can be our box O other supplies. However, we don't have a lot of supplies on hand anyway, so we are going to have to go on a quest. So let's open up our map and figure out where we can get some food from. It looks like we've got a giant pasture down here, so we're going to take a southward journey. You can travel quickly on roads, so make sure you're doing that if you have to make a long trip, because some of the travel times in this game can be cumbersome. Now, I think we're going to have to cut across right here because I don't see a road, and going all the way around there is probably going to be largely inefficient, and you guys know how I am for inefficiency. I'm a massive promoter of inefficiency. I'm a massive promoter of chaos. So we'll go down here, and I think we have to walk across this Badlands biome first, but it looks like our trip took us quite a long ways from our original location. Had I known how large the prairie was going to be that we were going to find up in the northwest, I would have made my base down here and just said screw it and made the walk whenever I needed manure, but for the time being, it looks like we're going to have to hoof it whenever we want to get some quick food. That's fine. I didn't see any walrus encampments down here. Walrus encampments are something that you're going to run into as a new player or as an old player that are going to be nasty. Angus McWalrus is going to shoot you with darts and just be a general douchebag to you. He kind of sucks. He was also sort of bugged so that he was hitting you when you were off the map the last time I played, so hopefully he'll stop doing that. There's a carrot, so we will grab ourselves a carrot just in case. We'll also pick up all the seeds you find because birds will eat them. They will get you into trouble, and you don't want them eating seeds. You want to have upward mobility with regards to seeds. You always want to have a good supply because you will be replanting very, very often, as well as you can use them as bait. Now you'll see here that there's a bush. We can also uproot these bushes, and that's the next part of my plan, is to get myself a nice little berry bush farm built so that we can get ourselves some berries. Now gobblers will spawn out of them, which is going to cause us all kinds of problems. And knowing me, you guys know that I hate gobblers. Those things are probably the most obnoxious enemy in the game. But I'm just going to follow this biome until the end of the day. This may be a good spot anyways to break off the episode. Keep it a little bit short so that you guys don't have to watch me farm. I've pretty much given you the gist of what you should be working on during this time period anyways. Gathering up all of these plantable objects, grabbing yourselves a berry farm, getting yourselves a nice grass field, all that fun stuff. So I'm going to sign off for now. My name is Splattercat. Thank you for joining me in the second episode of our Don't Starve series. I hope you've enjoyed it very much. I know it's been a little less goofy, a little less jovial than it usually is, but that's because I'm trying to get those fundamental points across to people that may not know what they're doing. So, that said, I hope you'll join me next time, and take care out there, everybody.